Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening everyone. Nasaan man po kayong panig ng mundo. Welcome po sa 122nd episode, 122 episode of the Stop COVID Deaths webinar series brought to you by the University of the Philippines. Thank you for being part of our credible online community, and to all those who have just discovered us for today, welcome po at sana po masiyahan po kayo at marami po kayong matutunan sa webinar po natin sa araw na ito. Driving through our major highways or even on smaller side streets, there are motorcycles everywhere. Kaliwa, kanan, sa harap mo, sa likod mo. This phenomenon is true not only in the big cities but in the smaller cities as well. Our streets are crowded with motorcycles. Admittedly, mabilis po ito na paraan para po tayo ay makapunta sa ating patutunguhan, especially with the skyrocketing prices of fuel. It has been seen as a solution for those who can no longer afford to drive their cars. Pero ang katanungan po, how safe are these two-wheelers and how safe are motorcyclists in the Philippines? I'm Dr. Raymond Francis Sarmiento, Director, National Telehealth Center, National Institutes of Health, University of Philippines, Manila. Always a pleasure to be with all of you during our regular Friday. And I always look forward to Fridays because I get to share hosting duties with my partner, our adjunct research faculty at the National Telehealth Center, also internationally renowned public health communications expert, Dr. Susie Pineda Mercado. Dr. Susie.
Hi, good afternoon Raymond. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Mukhang maraming mga nagmomotorsiklo parang sa audience natin So this is really a very hot topic and we hope na marami tayong matututunan. As usual, we have the best experts for you. So antabayanan po natin 'yan. I'd like to greet all of those who are watching also on YouTube and Facebook and all those who are watching on the playback. Kasi Raymond, maraming mga hindi nakakasama sa atin sa sa time na to, pero nakakasama sila sa ating playback. And also, we have we are already on TV. So tayo po ay nasa Channel 101. Direct, meron ba tayong Meron ba tayong plugging nun? Anyway,
Signal,
we're on Channel
plug-in.
101. Anyway, we're on Channel 101. We're already on television and you can also watch us there. Okay. So anyway, as you've noticed, in our opening billboard, we still say Stop COVID Deaths, but the C stands for current COVID problems. Hindi natin iniiwanan yung topic na COVID. O is other outbreaks, V, viruses, I, infections, D, disasters. And we're going to talk about preventing injury, which I would consider part of, outbreak rin yan Parang as far as the World Health Organization is concerned, this is one of the things that we are really monitoring as the prevalence rates for road injuries have really gone up over the years. So anyway, before we go to our main topic, we know that many of you want to know what the latest updates are and anong balita from other parts of the world and from our country. So that's why we have our section called the News Update.
Okay, for our first news update, merong patatalakayin po natin is yung COVID rebound after Pfizer treatment, likely due to robust immune response. Ayon po ito sa isang pag-aaral. Ito po ay based sa intensive investigation of rebound sa maliit lang na grupo ng pasyente sa National Institutes of Health Clinical Center sa Estados Unidos po, So what they found out that all patients in the study had developed robust immune responses, but the researchers found higher levels of antibodies in the patients who experience a rebound. So their findings suggest that a more robust immune response rather than an uncontrolled viral replication characterizes po ito pong mga clinical rebounds. Ito pong pag-aaral po nila, if you are so inclined, you can read it in the journal called Clinical Infectious Diseases. It followed numerous reports of individuals who took Paxlovid, yung pong gamot na Paxlovid ng Pfizer, as recommended within 5 days of infection, and saw a return of symptoms after they completed their 5-day course of treatment. So, ang mga naka-experience po nitong parang COVID rebound after taking the medicine sa pang-anim po na araw, si President Joe Biden ng Estados Unidos at saka si Dr. Anthony Fauci, recently retired ng National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases po. So, kailangan lang po nating antabayanan in terms of ano po ba yung mga nangyayari dito po sa immune system, immune response ng ating mga pasyente na nag-take po ng Paxlovid. Ang importante po to take note is that none of the rebound patients ay nangailangan po ng additional treatment o na hospital. So, wala po sa kanila yung umabot po sa ganoong estado. What about you, Dr. Susie?
Oh, Raymond, may binabantayan tayo dito, no? And we're going to share it with our audience. And I think 2 weeks from now, we'll probably feature it here on the webinar. Omicron BA.5 may have to move aside. There are new subvariants of Omicron, but no one is sure yet if we should be worried. So wag po tayong magpapanik. Meron tayong babalitaan. What's important is that we get to learn more about BQ.1, BQ.1.1, and XBB, because some scientists or infectious disease experts are making some predictions that there could be a surge in 1 or 2 of these strains in the winter in the temperate zone. So itong darating na November, December, January. Well, we know more about SARS-CoV-2 since it first appeared. So it looks like, people know the basics. We know how important masking is, physical distancing, hand hygiene, and staying home when you're sick. So it will still be the same, but it looks like BQ1 and BQ1.1, according to the United States CDC, really spreads quite fast. So these subvariants have grown to about 12% of the circulating virus strains in the United States, doubling in the past week compared to only 1% a month ago. So 1 month ago, 1% lang. Ngayon, 12% na. So we'll wait, no? Let's watch and see and wait and see what happens. No need to panic or worry, but it's something that we need to learn more about, and we will feature this on Stop COVID Deaths once we have more information. And so that's our news for today. And next week, we'll be back with more updates on the news update. Okay, we're back. We have a very interesting topic. And I think, as I saw in the chat, there's an interest in this from the perspective of mga nasa audience natin na nagmamotor, or meron tayong mga family members or friends who use motorcycles, or we are, driving on the street and we wonder about this. And, when I was in the World Health Organization, we really monitored road safety and road injuries kasi parang hindi napapansin yan, but it's the leading cause of death for children and young adults aged 5 to 29 years. That's really terrible, no? Parang hindi dahil sa nagkakasakit, pero dahil sa nagkakaroon ng mga crashes, at nagkakaroon ng mga injuries. So we learn more about this according to a recent report of the World Health Organization, which will be discussed by our speakers. 30% of all road crash deaths involve what they call powered 2 and 3-wheeled vehicles, such as motorcycles, mopeds, scooters, electric bikes, etc. So we're going to hear more about this and how you can stay safe if you are using a motorcycle or your family members are using a motorcycle. And I think we're gonna go listen first to some views from persons on the street, Raymond.
Thank you, Dr. Susie, for all those who are joining us for the very first time. We usually set our discussion into context po by presenting a very short video that we call Person on the Street. Ito po ay just to take the pulse of the common folk on the street po. No? Ang katanungan po namin sa kanila, sa aming mga in-interview, sa tingin po ninyo, ligtas po ba ang mga nagmomotor? Ano kaya ang mga kailangan gawin para maging ligtas ang ating mga kalye para sa mga nagmomotor? Please watch this.
Sa nagmumotor, may ligtas naman sila basta meron lang silang sariling linya at may disiplina ang mga rider.
Ako sa tingin ko ligtas naman basta meron kang disiplina at saka may pag-iingat ka. Importante na lagi kang alert sa kalsada. Depende rin talaga sa tao. Kung hindi ka iinom pag nagte-drive ka, mas safe, mas okay.
Especially Commonwealth, Commonwealth, ano yan? Yan ang pinakadelikadong lugar sa Manila kasi yan malaking daan ng mga motor sa liwa, di ba? Kaya maraming namamatay diyan eh.
Ang takbo mo, pag may sakay ka, dahan-dahan lang. At saka iwas mo na safe yung sakay mo. At saka, siyempre, iatid mo hanggang makarating sa pupunta niya na safe.
Nasa tao rin kasi talaga eh. For me, kinakailangan yung disiplina at kinakailangan mong sumunod sa batas trapiko. Mahalaga yun para sa akin. Para lahat ng tao na nagmumotor, ligtas.
Yung sa daanan, yung mga daan natin sa motor lane, okay naman. Medyo safe naman yung mga nagmumotor. Wag lang makipagsabayan dun sa malalaki.
Yes, once. Pero hindi naman dahil may nakabungguan ako or what. Pero dahil madulas yung daan, may nadaanan akong buhangin. So, naksidente ako. Pero hindi naman masyadong malala. Sakto lang. Nagkasugat ng konti. Yan. Wag naman sana maging malala. O naging malala.
Puro talaga higpitan lang ang pagpapatupad ng batas. Saka yun nga, yung mga speed limit dapat yun ang bigyan ng alisin.
May kanyan lane dapat, may lane yan dapat. Para sila lang ang nandun. Tapos nasa ano pa sila, nasa right lane sila palagi.
Sa ngayon, yung mga nagmumotor, walang sariling linya, kaliwat kanan ng minsan lumulusot ng alanganin.
Maganda talaga, may motor lane talaga na maganda para sa mga motor. Kasi dumadami na yung motor ngayon eh. Katulad sa bike lane, hindi ba yung bike lane may sariling daan? Dapat yung motor, itabi rin sa bike lane para doon na sila sabay-sabay na two wheels. Kasi yung katulad sa motor, two wheels lang to, hindi pwede sa gitna eh. Dapat kung saan yung bike lane, doon rin katabi sa motor lane.
Ang ginagawa ko, lagi akong tumitingin sa kalsada. Nag-iingat ako, hindi ako nagmamadali. At yun, kinakailangan ko yung disiplina sa sarili ko na wala dapat padiliin at maging maayos palagi sa kalye. Para hindi rin ako nakakaabala ng ibang tao. Yan.
Thank you very much, TVUP. It's always nice to hear what people are thinking on the ground. And I think, actually, Raymond, ang dami na nilang alam, no? Pero siguro, sabi nga sa public health, no, you have to look at policy and also look at the environment in order to achieve safety, no? So I think, this is going to be a very interesting discussion, and we're going to learn more about road safety. Sige, Raymond, over to you.
Thank you, TVUP, and thank you, Dr. Susie. Just a little
Teka
bit of
muna,
housekeeping.
Raymond, sandali lang. Bakit malumanay ka na naman?
Hindi naman
Ano ba,
mahina ba
tingin
boses
nyo,
ko?
guys?
Mahina.
Anong tingin nyo, guys? Hindi ba malumanay si Raymond ngayon? Parang, ano niya? Tinan mo, may palakpak, may yes. Malumanay ka nga daw ngayon eh. Bakit kaya? Hindi ko alam.
Kailangan lang natin yan for evolution.
Chill ka lang. Yan, may mga heart ka na, Raymond. Sige, game.
Thank you po. Thank you po. Just a little bit of housekeeping po, no? For all those who are asking, certificates of attendance will be given to those who have watched at least 50% of the webinar duration po natin. We have already sent out 1 to 120 yung pong mga nakaabang para po sa webinar 121, makukumpleto na po namin iyon. But if you feel you should have received a certificate but did not, please let us know so that we'd be able to send it to you as soon as possible. And you need to email po stopcoviddeaths@up.edu.ph. For today's webinar, we have as our usual, our standard panel discussion format. After our speakers have presented, we will have a Q&A session wherein we will entertain questions from our Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. At pipiliin po namin dito kung ano po yung mga most pertinent and most upvoted po sa ating mga katanungan. But before we delve into the webinar, simulan po natin ito ng ating cute intro sa ating fun quiz segment.
Wala pa. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Kumusta na kayo lahat?
Hi, I'm Doc Chusi, the mini Doc Susie.
And I'm Doc Radar, the mini Doc Raymond. Are you ready to have fun? Simply open your browser to www.slido.com and enter your code to participate. We will discuss your answers during the panel discussion later on in the program.
We will have it flashing on your screen in a bit, and we look forward to your answers. Masaya at madali lang ito. Join na!
Okay. Maraming salamat po, no? And for those who are joining us outside of the Zoom, you can still participate in our fun quiz by opening up your browsers, typing in po yung ating URL slido.com, and then when you are prompted, please enter the code 5405717. That's 5405717 for you to be able to participate in our fun quiz. Meron po tayong 3 katanungan para po sa ating fun quiz for today. For our first question, in a road mishap, which road users are most likely to get injured? Ito po ba yung driver ng bus, driver ng jeep, driver ng tricycle, or driver ng motorcycle? Medyo giveaway ang ating ang ating katanungan, Dr. Susie. I'm seeing those who are typing in, choosing their answers po, no, para po dito sa ating first
ba,
question.
Raymond? Baka naman hindi pa yan ang sagot. Hindi pa natin alam.
Tama,
pero ano ka
tama.
daw, Raymond? Teka, nakita ko. In love ka daw, tsaka gentleman ka daw ngayon. Very gentleman.
Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po. Hindi ko po kilala yung nagsabi po ng gentleman. So I'm very appreciative of the comment po. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to greet those who are joining us all the way from ED Lim Medical Center, Apalit, Pampanga, from Santa Rosa Community Hospital in Santa Rosa, Laguna, from the Edwin Andrews Air Base Hospital in Zamboanga City, from Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Senior Medical Center in Osamis City, Misamis Occidental, and Davao Medical School Foundation in Davao City po. Also those joining us from Car Sigma District Hospital, maraming salamat po. Those who are coming in from Pateros Technological College, thank you so much. Those who are joining us also from University of Philippines Los Baños, nakita ko po yun kanina. Meron din po tayong motorcycle rider and government employee from Davao City, from the UP PGH Ward 1 Department of Medicine po ito, from New Sinai Schools and Colleges. Meron din po tayo from Taguig City University, the UP PGH Medical Records Division OPD Admitting Section. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Obviously, ang ating mga regulars from the Schools Division of Isabela, Regional Office of Tuguegarao in Region 2. Maraming salamat po kay Sir Joseph sa patuloy na panonood. From the MBA Class 2021 students of Attorney Rachel, yun din po. From Valladolid, Negros Occidental, Navotas City Hospital, meron din po tayong tagapanood. From One Bataan and from PTC Department po, nandito rin po sila. From PHC, from Amang Rodriguez Memorial Medical Center, Public Health Unit, Health Education and Promotion Office in Marikina City, from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources po. Maraming salamat po sa lahat. Philippine Heart Center, nandito na rin po. At sa lahat-lahat po ng tumatangkilik at patuloy na sumusuporta at nanonood sa Stop COVID Deaths webinar series. Hello sa inyo mga taga Iloilo and Eastwoods Professional College of Science and Technology in Bataan and House of Representatives po. Department of Emergency Medicine, obviously, from our speaker, and Ward 2 Surgery po. Question number 2. Who are most likely to be injured in a road mishap? Is it A, male na edad 15 to 35? Is it B, female edad 15 to 35? Is it C, male and female edad 15 to 38? And letter D, male na less than 10 years old po. Yun po ang ating mga choices. Ano po? I'd like to greet those who are joining us from the Chonin Hospital in Taipei City in Taiwan, from Kanto City in Vietnam, the University of Ha'il, Saudi Arabia, and Lunichi Ali University of Blida 2 in Algeria. Thank you so much. For question number 3, okay, what are the common causes of road injury? Is it A, speed above 60 kph, kilometers per hour? Is it B, under the influence of alcohol? Is it C, fatigue and sleepiness? Is it D, reckless driving? Or is it E, all of the above? Lahat po ng nabanggit. We will not be closing our fun quiz. Patuloy lang po natin itong babantayan as we move on sa ating webinar proper. Dr. Susie?
Okay, thank you very much, Raymond. Maraming salamat. And for all of you who love joining the fun quiz, we really encourage you kasi talagang pinag-iisipan ng mga speaker ng mabuting mga tanong, no? And it's a good way to refresh our memory or to learn more about the topic and remember a few key points that will be discussed. All right, I know you are excited to get on with this discussion, and we will go to our main presenter. He is somebody you know very well. Kung wala po siya, wala pong Stop COVID Deaths dahil ito po ay siya po ang siyang how should I say, he made it possible to bring together different units of the University of the Philippines to work on this. No? And he played a very, very important role in the first 2 years of the pandemic in the National Task Force. But now he has gone back to this first, parang first love, no? Yung, kasi trauma surgeon siya eh. Talagang gusto talaga niya itong emergency medicine. So he has gone back full-time to be chair of the Department of Emergency Medicine at the UP Philippine General Hospital. So let's welcome one of your favorites, Dr. Ted Herbosa. Ted, welcome.
Hi, Susie. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me again.
Glad
to be here on this topic that is of my interest.
Namimiss ka na ng audience, pero teka muna. Bakit may Hello Kitty dyan sa likod mo?
So this is again another one of my advocacy. A good friend of mine, si Shinichi Takenaka, he's a doctor from Japan, used to be the health attaché of the Japanese government when I was Undersecretary of Health. So he came to visit on vacation from Geneva. And in Geneva, he is the head of the Stop TB program globally. And he came with a pasalubong. Of course, he knows that Filipinos love to receive pasalubong. He gave me a Hello Kitty that says Stop TB. And the trust of what you call this, WHO is really childhood TB. Kaya nakalagay dyan, the Hello Kitty is a Japanese icon for children, yung mga lumaki dyan with Hello Kitty. Ito ngayon, nice. To promote childhood TB, to fight against childhood TB.
Nice. Kaya pala may manika ka dyan. Okay. Sige. Okay, go ahead with your presentation, Ted. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for having me again, and I'm very happy to now talk about a topic that is of talagang interest to me, no, which is trauma and road safety. Yun. So, na-mention na kanina na sorry. What happened? Let me just fix this. Okay. So, na-mention na kanina na of interest now is actually the powered two-wheelers. And I'd like to talk a little bit about a conference that all three of us, yung dalawang reactor kasama ko today, we all met together just last couple of weeks ago at nagkaroon ng malaking meeting dito sa Asian Development Bank headquarters in Manila. It was called the Global Regional Road Safety Observatory's Dialogue on Powered Two-Wheeler Safety. So na-mention nila yan, na mukhang it is a global problem and mukhang tayo ang lead dito sa Asia Pacific because I think of all the countries, hindi first world ang magsasolve ng problema ng powered two-wheelers. Kasi we're talking about these small bikes below 70cc, below 500cc, yung mga electric scooter, yung mga tricycle, di ba? These are the ones that are really predominant in all our countries dito sa low middle income countries. And this meeting was a very good meeting because it was also hosted together with the Asia Pacific Regional Road Safety Observatory and the Ibero-American Road Safety Observatory. Ito yung mga nagawang observatory on road safety during the first decade of road safety when it was sponsored by the UN. So ngayon, pinopokus itong dalawang continents na to, yung low and middle income countries, na lumalaganap ang mga nagmomotorsiklo. And we know it is a public health problem, not only a problem of economics. No? So, unique yung opportunity na i-address specifically yung powered two-wheelers. So ito yung mga nakamotor ngayon, yung dumami nito after the COVID, dumami na sa Pilipinas. Suddenly, if you drive, sigurado may kasama kang powered two-wheeler. And important yung mga global experts na nag-present ng mga successes nila, even the collection of data. And ako na-invite because of my study in the Philippines. Meron din kaming demonstrations. Nakita yung some of the things they're pushing is the anti-lock brakes for motorcycles. Dahil, and it's only like $20 additional, parang 1,000 lang ang idadagdag mo. Ito yung where you are able to control the motorcycle when you suddenly put on the brakes. Most of our cars have this already, pero nilalagay lang ito dun sa mga mahal na motorsiklo. So ang push ngayon dapat ilagay din to dun sa mga cheap motorcycles below 80cc, below 125cc. So nagkakaroon ng malaking advocacy and discussions by different world experts. And ang isang natutunan namin dito nila Dr. Go and Anton is that the UN declared again another decade of road safety. This is the second decade of road safety, 2021 to 2030. Na-decide ito sa UN General Assembly in 2020 at nilabas nila yung papers nila last October of 2021, a year ago. And sabi nila, i-continue yung improvements on road design, on roads and vehicles, enhancement of laws on road safety, law enforcement, and the provision of timely life-saving emergency care for the injured. Alam mo, dyan yung focus ko, pero napasama na rin ako dyan sa road safety studies in the other parts. And yung previous decade, nagkaroon ng maraming achievements na include na ang road safety sa global health and development agenda in many countries. Nagkaroon ng broader dissemination of scientific guidance on what works and what doesn't work. At nag-strengthen ng partnerships and networks. Maraming advocates. In that meeting, sumali din yung Youth for Road Safety, which is a global movement. And it's very nice to hear the youth speak about this advocacy of road safety. And then nakita natin the only way to solve a problem like as big as COVID, because road safety is as big as COVID, it's a global pandemic as well, is to mobilize resources and have solidarity, and all different agencies really come together. So I'll take this opportunity to tell you na prior to COVID, I was granted by the PCHRD and DOST to do a massive study to create health evidence for health policy on road safety. And this was a big grant that was given me to study urban centers. So it had two parts, the epidemiology of road crashes in the urban centers. So I looked at top hospitals that take care of a lot of trauma, injuries from road crashes in Metro Manila, in Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. Tatlong ospital sa Metro, 4 na ospital sa Metro Manila, 2 sa Cebu, 2 sa Davao. And we got their data. And then naisip ko, how do I help kasi it's about health policy, no? So kailangan meron tayong direction at ma-prioritize natin which roads we will fix first. Is it the urban road, the rural road? Is it certain roads like Commonwealth, as was mentioned in the video? So ang idea namin is to create a parang rating system. We call this an index, a road safety index, at na-develop namin ito para ma-identify kung ano yung uunahin ng ating pamahalaan. So ang background nito is because in road safety, nagkaroon na ng general principles. There are 5. Road safety management and capacity. So yung aralin mo talaga how to move the traffic so that people will share the roads. Making the roads safer. Yung sa mga present sa meeting namin, sometimes simple lighting of the road will prevent deaths. The safer vehicles and mobility, nadinig yung sinabi ko, seat belts work, helmets work, anti-lock brake system works, and then safe road behavior. Ito yung pinakamahirap, yung changing people to behave correctly kasi parang king of the road sila. So you're starting to have this kind, and we need to actually educate, I think, from the very young age because yung mga bata ay nagmomotorsiklo. And of course, ito yung ating health system, the post-crash response. Ito siyempre ang interest ko. Sabi nga nila, kaming mga emergency physicians and trauma surgeons, we are the recipients of society's bad behavior. So ito yung ginawa namin sa research. Hindi naman pala walang data ang Pilipinas. Wala lang nag-a-analyze. So sabi nila, there are no data on road safety coming out of the Philippines. Pero sabi ko, ang daming databases. So at PGH, we had the Philippine General Hospital Integrated Surgical Information System Database, which is an IT collection of over 10 years of trauma cases. So hiniwalay lang namin yung road crashes. And then there's the ONIS of DOH. ONIS is the Online Electronic Injury Surveillance System. So it's a public health system to design where the injuries are coming from in the Philippines. And then the AHEAD is the one funded by this study. AHEAD is Advancing Health Evidence for Analysis and Decision Making. So ito yung funded by the so we were able to hand search data, paper data by I hired many research assistants, and we created a big database of 10 years in these big hospitals in those 4 cities that I mentioned. And of course, the very popular MAMRAS, we have someone from the Metro Manila Development Authority, the Metro Manila Accident Reporting and Analysis System. And they continue to have this database. Inanalyze ko rin yung 10 years to compare the data, which also has some of the data of the PNP and the DPWH. So big data analytics ang approach namin. We mined the data that was already existing. Remember, hindi ko ginawa itong data na to. It's been there for the past 10 years. All I had to do is mine them and analyze them. So ano mga interesting things na nakita namin? Ito yung sa ISIS, no? We found road crashes, 4,000, almost 5,000 from January of 2008 to December of 2000. That means this is serious injury kasi na-admit sila sa ospital. So remember, this data is skewed because it only detects people who were treated by the trauma service, which means they had polytrauma. So, and it was, there's a 424% increase in road crashes. Pataas ng pataas every year, an average of 21% increase every year. And if you look after COVID, kasi ang study ko, before COVID lang eh. If you look after COVID, mas dumami pa yung motorcycles. And mas dumami pa naman talaga ang aming trauma patients due to road crashes from motorcycles. Then if you look at the ONIS, the Online Electronic Injury Surveillance System of the DOH, this one is voluntary. Dapat nga mandatory ito. But it's a voluntary web-based approach na maganda naman that kung ikaw ay willing to submit your data, you can submit your data on all injuries that you see. So in-extract lang namin, we got their permission, we extracted the road crash kasi all injuries itong, naalala nyo pagka Pasko, di ba, monitor natin yung naputukan, yung blast injuries. Dito rin nare-report yun sa ONIS. Pero meron din sila, if you mine the database, nandoon din yung road crash victims. And ito yung statistics na nakikita. So yan, so ang dami nilang na-accumulate. I think about 26 hospitals are voluntarily reporting here already. So 894,000, almost 1 million cases of road crashes for the past year have been reported in this voluntary system. And about a third of those injuries were actually road crashes. And average, halos pareho, if you look at the PGH data, 25% increase every year. Very interesting. So we know we're increasing with our cases of motor vehicle crashes. So, ayan, up from 27 to 40% of all the cases of injuries are due to vehicular crash. If you look at the Metro Manila Accident Reporting and Analysis System by MMDA, ayan naman yung data nila, over 1 million. Metro Manila lang po yan. Hindi pa yan buong country. Remember, my study only covered urban roads, which is Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, Metro Davao. Hindi ko pa tiningnan yung mga rural roads. And that's the next proposal I actually want to do, wherein we would study are there more deaths in the city kasi mas maraming hospital din, or are there more deaths in a rural road crash? But that's my future work in this particular field of study. So nakita natin yung increase niya mas mataas sa Metro Manila, 32% increase from those years. Yeah. And then the road user deaths, meron silang deaths kasi may fatalities on the road na hindi na umaabot sa hospital. So, if you look at hospital data only, incomplete siya. Kailangan tingnan mo rin yung data of dati, itong Metro Manila, kasi another road user na nai-ignore natin lagi is the pedestrian. Yung pedestrian road user din yan. Hindi lang yung mga motor. Tumatawid din yan. Naglalakad din yan sa sidewalk. So tinatamaan sila. And they're the ones that can die kasi sila ang pinaka-unprotected followed by the two-wheeled vehicle. So ang dami nung namamatay, 2,775 in the period of analysis. These are the deaths that never went to the hospital. Napunta na sa SOCO yan or napunta na sa morgue because they died on the spot because of the high transfer of kinetic energy. So yan din yung fatal crashes increased by 6% every year on the average from 2005 to 2015. Di ba nakakatakot yun? And these are mostly preventable. So drivers killed, nandiyan yung number, passengers killed, and pedestrians killed. No? Ang taas din ng pedestrians, almost as high as the number of drivers killed. And of course, drivers are the most commonly injured, reported to be injured in road crashes. And the passengers also, of course, are going to be injured. So then we also have our own data, which is really the ahead data. And this was partnered with these are two programs of the Department of Science and Technology to push research in road safety. Well, not only road safety, but all aspects of healthcare. And I used it for my proposal to use it on road safety. So health policy and systems research para malaman kung anong dapat gawin talaga to public health problems like road safety. And kinolect namin to manually. We got the funding to hire several. I think at a certain time, I had 28 research assistants go in the different cities trying to hand search all the hospital records to get the vehicular crash data. And ganun din, very similar, 25%, 25.58% increase of motor vehicle crashes every year. Hindi ba public health epidemic yan? That's an epidemic if I ever saw one. So, ano mga nakita namin dun sa mga databases? Across all databases, this is very interesting because all of the graphs look the same. So you see two peaks, di ba? Yung unang peak, that is age 5 to 7. So vulnerable yung mga bata. So we need to do something with that. And the other peak is 24 to 25 years old. So talagang yung ages 15 to 35, talagang yun ang nai-injure sa trauma sa road crashes. So very important to address those two peaks, and we can solve that, yung children at yung young adult male. So yan, for all the databases, if you look at the ages, kita mo, the same graph actually continues. So we have the data sets, we're just not analyzing. So if I'm going to make a public health program, ang i-address ko itong 20 to 29 years old range kasi my biggest bang for my buck is really to make these guys. And I like one of those in the video, he was in this age group and he says, kailangan lang disiplina, huwag kang iinom kung magdadrive ka ng motor. And technically in the hospital, this is what we see. Uminom, kala niya kaya niya pa rin magmotor, nag-crash, umabot siya sa ER ng PGH. So ito yung victim type, no? Yung driver pa rin ang pinaka-common, pero passengers, whether it's a front, yung rear passenger ang mas mataas, no? So these are some of the data we saw. Victim type, dito yung sa Onis at Samaras. Sa vehicle type, ayan ang sagot dun sa tanong kanina. In all data sets, motorcycles occupy the largest chunk of vehicles. So ngayon siguro, i-rename ko na siya. Powered two-wheelers na ang tawag sa kanila. Kasi meron tayong mga electric eh. Hindi naman talaga sa motor. Electric scooter. Ayun, ang dami nga nung electric motorcycle, pati tricycle, may electric na rin. And I think it will increase because of the high price of gas. And you can see in all data sets, PGH 77%, Onis 58%, Ahead studies 82% in all those hospital studies. So the other thing that's interesting is we looked at sino ba yung nagka-crash. So nakita namin alcohol intake has been one of the most common risk factor. I think we need to implement our laws because we have a drunk driving law. Pero parang wala tayong what do you call this, breath analyzer. Tapos parang yung penalty sa DUI nakakalusot, di ba? So the other factors are your speeding, inattentiveness, bad overtaking or reckless behavior, human error, bad turning. So usually ang two-wheelers, safe sila habang nandun sila sa lane nila. At nagkaka-crash sila sa mga intersections kasi doon sila nagkakahalo-halo with the bigger vehicles. And then we look at what were causing their deaths. Of course, it's head injury. Kaya hinanap namin yung ano yung mga Glasgow Coma score nila at the time they were injured. And the proportion of patients with severe injury in both data sets were also similar, but there are lesser patients with moderate and minimal injury in the AHEAD database. No? So ito naman yung proportion of recovered is somewhat similar also in all the databases to the proportion of those that died. So very bad yung outcome ng death. No? Even if they recover, I'd still like to study them because some of the motorcycle two-wheel vehicle injuries end up with a head injury and permanently disabled, or a spine injury, permanently disabled. So if you look at the population, ito yung mga 20-year-old, 25-year-old. Imagine the rest of their life, nire-rehab pa sila. So pabigat pa sila sa pamilya nila. Imbis na nakakatulong sila na maaahon nila sa kahirapan ng pamilya nila, they end up being cared for the rest of their life because they are now part of the persons with disability or differently able. So ito yung mga body parts na nakikita. Of course, pag motorcycle, multiple injuries talaga ang nagiging injury natin. And if we compare head and neck, chest, face, abdomen, yan ang mga statistics namin. And then injury severity is another factor that we look at. So you look at the color, fatal injuries, damage to property, and non. So ito yung difference no, when we look at data sets. Yung MARAS really looks at data on the field. Yung nagbanggaan sila, di ba yung traffic aid, titingnan yon, may report yon, yun yung na-encode nila. Yung sa hospital, yun yung dinala sa hospital dahil injured siya or serious siya. So magkaiba yung nako-collect niya. At mas maraming nako-collect na damage to property doon sa MARAS database. And that's because that's where it is uniquely collected. Yung sa ONIS naman, it is really trying to collect for public health, kung saan nangyari at anong nangyari sa kanila. Pero yung outcome nandoon sa hospital. So kailangan talaga pagsamahin lahat ng databases. Now, because of all this study and the grant that I had, I also did a series of webinars. At ang sabi sa amin, this is the first time that such a series of webinars with all the stakeholders. WHO was here, DPWH, even our professors from Australia who were Mark King, who was an expert on road safety in Australia, tried to contribute to help us. So madaming discussions to. So we had the global perspective, we have the LGUs also, and the legislators in some of our post-crash talks. So very well attended. At mapapanood nyo pa to, no? Itong aming series of webinars. It's one of the successes of this study grant, and they're still on YouTube. So picturean nyo na to, and so you can still continue to watch all those 4 webinars that we conducted as part of our key informant interviews in our study. Then if you look at where they happen, so because I looked at urban areas, so hindi ko pa natingnan yung rural areas for study, urban pa lang. So alam ko sa Metro Manila, yung the darker the color, the more crashes. Yung Quezon City, alam na natin, nasa Commonwealth Avenue yan, yung karamihan yan. So you can see the darker the color, that is the darker the higher the crash. So yung mga nasa Mindanao dyan, no, nakikita niyo yung area na, nung part ba yun? Davao yun, di ba? Davao, yung dark na yun. And then sa Cebu, yan, nakikita niyo yung areas where it's really, so if you want to make a difference in road safety, mukhang dapat ayusin natin yung urban centers. Kasi yung urban centers, ang dami talagang population, ang daming may motorsiklo. And if we make a good sharing of the road, and one of our reactors will talk about a program in Commonwealth, which I really endorse, which is part of road safety and road sharing, which can prevent all these crashes. Then we looked at the revised trauma score. No, the revised trauma score is a standard way to grade the severity of injury. The way to get it is to get the Glasgow Coma score with a constant and the blood pressure and the respiratory rate. So if you have all those data, you can get an RTS, and the RTS can predict whether this patient's survival will be high or low. So yan yung mga. And what I was able to do in the study, because they couldn't do this RTS in Africa, they came up with what was called the Kampala score, which is also something similar, more standard, although the gold standard was that. I said, since I don't get this data, might as well propose another. So this is for people who want to use our proposed Philippine trauma scoring system. Maganda rin siya kasi with my statisticians, prove that it is able to do a prediction that is very much accurate. And I'd like to be able to use this because it applies to the Philippine health system. So ito yung mga naging trends, no, in all the 3 databases. Very important yung increase every year, 21%, 25%. and the average number of recorded cases every year, no? Parang mga 500. And then the trends in road user use, I don't have to go to the details, but you can see the drivers are killed 2,775. Pagka inisip mo yan, kung every year ganyan ang namamatay, parang may bagyo, di ba? Parang may typhoon. Di ba? In a typhoon, parang two missing, one dead, di ba? But this one is yearly. These are the number of people dying and fatalities that are happening in the different data sets. So nakakatakot talaga. From a public health perspective, I look at these numbers, I'm scared. We must do something more for this one rather than and the best is really prevention and road engineering. Pag ang in-spend ko is all on post-crash ambulance, high-tech ER, mas mahal yun. Mas mura talaga ang road injury prevention. So, ito naging conclusions namin dun sa malawakang 10-year database and analytics of our Philippine data. Our victims are very young. So, baka dapat driving should be taught in DepEd. I think that's the program we should actually push for to our legislators. Na wag mo nang kunin ito para lahat pag-graduate ng high school, alam na yung road safety rules. Karamihan ng mga gumagamit ng road, nag-aral lang for 2 weeks in a driving class, di ba? Driving school. Second, the victims are people in their prime working age. Imagine we're destroying a segment of our population. We have about 4,000 people dying every year and they are young and they just graduated from college and they're moving from home to work. Yeah. Now, third is motorcycles comprise the largest vehicle type involved in road crashes. I bet you this is even higher now because I think in 2019 compared to today, 2022, I see more motorcycles on the road. In fact, as a four-wheeler driver of a car, I'm always irritated. All these motorcycles coming out of my blind spot. Parang hindi nila naintindihan yung blind spot of driving. So, and they come really close to my car, and my car has that alarm that if you're near, beep, 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 gumagano. So, talagang kinakabahan ako at nagugulat ako. Then, we have to look at pedestrians. They are very vulnerable. Ewan ko, ang sidewalks natin, inangkin na ng mga LGU, ginawang barangay station, ginawang police. So I do walking around my neighborhood. Ang daming obstacle, ang hirap we need to reclaim the pedestrian. But when I walk around in other countries, ang lalapad ng sidewalk sa Japan, sa US, di ba? Kahit sa BGC, maganda na yung sidewalk, ano pa rin kulang sa dami ng taong Then alcohol, we need to do something about the alcohol and driving. Non-use of the helmet and seatbelt also increases death and injury. So they work. This is not new data, but I think I have Philippine data now to share. Tama yan, dapat stricter ang rules ng non-helmet use and non-seatbelt use. And then I'm proposing a trauma scoring system that is going to be useful. Ang next na very important is now I'm part of a Department of Health technical working group on trauma centers. This is a project on specialty centers, part of the Universal Healthcare Program. Kasi dapat magtayo din tayo ng maraming centers kasi ito yung post-crash. So we cannot make crashes zero. But we need to build the centers for this. These are young people of our population. If their lives can be saved with a neurosurgeon, with diagnostics, with blood, then we have to make it available. And so this is a whole program. I will not discuss it anymore, but this is already funded through the Universal Healthcare. So we will have a National Specialty Center, yung Jose Reyes for trauma, and Advanced Comprehensive Care Center, Basic Comprehensive Care Center. And they're different. Nilagay namin kung ano yung mga kailangan as trauma experts. Nilagay namin kung ano yung kailangan, kung anong kayang gawin. And then we have to make it part of the service delivery network in the regions. I was just able to visit 2 of the big hospitals that had very nice emergency departments. The Cotabato Medical Center, and the other one was in Paulino J. Garcia, who built a trauma center or an emergency department that was bigger than my emergency department in PGH. So natatalo na kami. Yung hindi na namin masabing PGH ang largest hospital in the Philippines kasi mas malaki na in beds ang Southern Philippines Medical Center. Hindi ko na rin masabing I run the largest ER kasi may mas malaking ER na yung Paulino J. Garcia. But this is all good. I think it's better for Filipinos in those areas to now have modern stuff like that. So hindi ko na gagawin yung details na yon. I'll just go to this and say very important na yung ating health system, and I mean the trauma system becomes integrated with the ambulance services and of course also with telehealth. Kasi pag magre-refer kayo from the other hospitals, kailangan dalhin siya sa Philippines. So ito yung project na yon, yung specialty centers. Last 2021, nag-meeting kami. So nakita niyo yung mga specialty centers na gagawin ng Department of Health. Renal care, orthopedic care, lung care, brain and spine, geriatric care. So ito yung mga ongoing infrastructure development and funding for them. And then, so yan, project yan. I hope this will be continued by the DOH and whoever becomes the next health secretary for us. So in the end, I'd like to show this slide of the WHO. This is called the Emergency Care System Framework. From the time you are injured, itong sa kabila, sa left of the screen, you see the scene where you need bystander response. You need a dispatch center that will provide emergency provider response so that the ambulance who know how to treat you, stop your bleeding, fix your fracture, and mobilize you and bring you to transport you to the facility or the trauma center that can treat you and your lives can be saved. So with that, maraming salamat sa Stop COVID Deaths for letting me speak about my passion, which is saving lives, saving young people from getting injured. Yung road safety, very important yung numbers na nakita natin. The future, the development of a trauma system for the Philippines, and of course aligning our health system with the very high goal of the second decade, decreasing by 50% deaths from road safety. And I'd like to end lang, Susie, with 3 quotes na nakita ko when I was trying to prepare for this slide, and I'd like to share them with everyone. The first quote is by Maud Van Buren, and said, "Road sense is the offspring of courtesy and the parent of safety." The second one is by Warren Farrell, "Choosing safety is a choice of life over career." And the last one, which is my favorite, "Don't learn safety by accident," by Jerry Smith. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, thank you very much, Ted. This is Dr. Ted Herbosa, the chair of the Emergency Department of the Philippine General Hospital. Excellent presentation. Meron pa tayong palakpakan. Nakikita nyo naman, Ted, nakikita mo naman yung mga heart dyan sa kamera. Palakpakan. And there are many comments in the chat. So I think, there's quite a bit of, I would say, personal interest in this. And we will have an open forum later. But thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Tsaka nararamdaman nyo talaga yung passion ni Dr. Diba? Talagang, talagang, alam mo, hindi nagbabasa nagkakwento lang siya ng mga slides niya, no? Galing. Okay, Raymond, let's go to our next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Susie, and thank you, Dr. Herbosa. Comprehensive presentation po, Philippine Road Safety Study, as well as I didn't know that there was a TWG already being from the Department of Health. Okay po yan. Just to remind everyone, for the Q&A session of our webinar, we'll be choosing the most upvoted questions. We encourage everyone to start typing in your questions in the Zoom Q&A or in the comment section of the Stop COVID Deaths or TVUP Facebook pages or in the TVUP YouTube channel. Okay. My pleasure naman po to introduce to you our first reactor. He is the National Professional Officer of the World Health Organization Philippine Country Office. Please welcome to your screens for the first time po, Dr. John Juliard Go. Dr. Go?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Raymond. It was a pleasure really to hear and see the presentation of Dr. Ted, no? He is considered a guru and inspiration on road safety in the Philippines. So his presentation is a reminder or a wake-up call to many of us. No, he presented many alarming findings, but also he showed us the light of day. No, he presented some areas of actions which we would need to take together, no, to be able to address these issues and concern. I prepared a PowerPoint presentation, Dr. Raymond.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Please share your screen.
Okay. Okay. So the presentation of Dr. Ted, no, is really very timely, very relevant because road safety continues to be a very important public health and development issue, both globally and nationally, and also very much felt at the local level, so locally at that. So you can proceed to the next slide, please. So at the global level, that's very important, no? The issue, because we know that every year, no, more than 1.3 million people die from road crashes, no, and they are the 8th leading cause of death for people of all ages, and leading cause of death, no, among children and young adults. So we know that majority, no, a far majority, actually 93% of this road traffic deaths are happening in low and middle income countries like the Philippines. And most of those affected ay yung tinatawag natin mga vulnerable road users, na kasama nga dito yung mga motorcyclists, no? At sa global data, nakita dito na around 30% of all road traffic fatalities are related to the use of a motorcycle. Okay, and next slide. So, yung usapin ng motorsiklo ay talagang napaka-importante, ano? So pagtuunan natin ng pansin yung motorsiklo kasi nasabi yan ni Doc Ted kanina, no, that motorcycles are quite very vulnerable on the road, no? So yung motorsiklo kasama yan dun sa kategory ng mga behikulo na tinatawag natin na powered 2 and 3-wheelers, no? At kasama dito sa category na dito yung mga scooters, mopeds, e-bikes, at saka yung mga tricycle, no? Sa ibang bansa ang tawag diyan, auto rickshaw. So sa mga nakaraang mga taon, nakita natin yung pagdami talaga, no, ng motorsiklo sa buong mundo, lalo na sa Asia, no. Dito sa graph na ito makikita niyo yung Southeast Asia region and Western Pacific region. So diyan po nabibilang yung Asia. Okay, sa next slide, no, bakit nga ba dumadami yung motorsiklo, no? Ang ilan sa mga dahilan, no, ay kasi nga, di ba, mobility is a vital aspect of our daily lives, no? At alam natin na yung motorsiklo ay isang importanteng moda or pamamaraan for transport, no? It complements, it competes with, and it supplements other modes of transport such as walking, bicycling, use of bus, train, or private car. And they are growing in number, particularly in low and middle income countries, partly as a solution to increasing, di ba, yung traffic congestion, lalo sa mga urban areas, and because of the high cost of the other forms of transportation. In addition, there is often access, no, to easy financing to purchase motorcycle, and also the convenience of parking and low cost of maintenance. All of these have contributed to the growth of the motorcycles nationally and globally. Okay, next slide. So nakita natin importante yung motorsiklo, no, sa mobility. Pero hanggang ngayon, nagiging issue talaga yung safety, no? Kasi nga nakita dito na around 30% of all road traffic deaths are related to the use of motorcycles. Sa katunayan, makikita ninyo sa graph na ito dito sa gawing kanan, no, nung between 2013 to 2016, no, tumaas talaga, no, yung proportion ng motorcycle deaths globally from 23% to 28%, no, lalong-lalo na dito sa Southeast Asia. And sa mga ibang bansa kagaya ng Cambodia at saka Thailand, nakikita dito yung motorcycle deaths, no? They comprise about 73 and 74% of total road fatalities, no, respectively. So bakit nangyayari itong mga to? Next slide. Bakit medyo delikado, no? Or bakit mataas yung peligro ng paggamit ng motorsiklo sa daan? And there are risk factors for this that are related to the road environment, related to the vehicle, related to the road user, and related to post-crash response. Now, let's discuss these factors one by one, no? So there are risk factors related to the road environment, which include, no, yung lack of kawalan daw ng inclusive urban planning na isinasaalang-alang yung pangangailangan, no, ng mga motorcycle riders at iba pang mga road users, no. kasama rin sa mga risk factors dito yung tinatawag na mixed traffic, no? Na iba-ibang mga sasakyan ang gumagamit sa daan kagaya nung nakikita dito sa picture. At alam natin that operating motorcycles in mixed traffic, that is with no segregation, significantly increases the likelihood of motorcycle collision. The design of road infrastructure is also another factor, no? Studies have shown that motorcyclists are particularly vulnerable to collisions on doon sa mga curves, sa mga kurba, bends, slip roads, at saka sa mga roundabouts, no? And this is mainly due to acceleration or deceleration, or where stability is at stake, making loss of control likely in these situations. The road surface conditions, no, are also very important. We know that uneven road surfaces, deterioration, potholes, no, unpaved curbs, manhole covers, bumps, drainage, spillages, no, yung poor road markings and debris are road surface factors that have been shown to increase the risk of motorcycle crashes. May mga road hazards din sa daan, no? At itong mga roadside hazards na to kasama yung mga fixed ones, no, kagaya ng mga trees, signposts, no, guardrails, utility poles and drainage structures, at kasama rin yung mga transient objects, no, kagaya ng mga nakaparadang mga sasakyan. At pag nakaharang sila sa kalsada, so they pose risk as well to the motorcycle riders, no? And also the limited public transport infrastructure and the lack of alternative means of transport in urban settings, they limit commuter choice, and they increase the demand for and use of motorcycles as well. So these are some factors that are related to the road environment. So next we proceed to identify some risk factors naman that are related to the vehicle. So dito, makikita dito na yung motorcycle stability is a factor because the stability of motorcycle depends on travel speed, no? And on there being yung friction, sufficient friction between the tires and the roads, no? Certain types of motorcycles can become unstable when the available friction limit has been exceeded, such as on wet roads or when acceleration or braking forces are too high. Now, meron din yung factor na lack of crash protection, no? Unlike people who ride cars, they're inside the vehicle, no? People who ride motorcycles, they are exposed, no, to the elements. They're out there. And this inherent lack of crash protection to motorcycle riders and passengers puts them at higher risk for traffic-related injuries and deaths, no? The injuries sustained tend to be more serious because of this lack of protection. In addition to head injuries, the lower extremities, including yung pelvic region, no, are the second most commonly injured part of the body among motorcyclists who have crashed. No. Another risk factor related to the vehicle are braking errors. No. In emergency situation, riders often fail to use full braking capacity. Braking errors lead to loss of control of the motorcycle, putting both the rider and any passenger at an increased risk of serious injury and death. Next, we proceed to discuss yung mga risk factors naman that are related to road users. Kasama dito syempre yung hindi paggamit ng helmet, no? Yung hindi paggamit ng standard or good quality helmet and fastening them, no? Accordingly. Kasama rin dito yung speeding because the higher the speed at which the vehicle travels, the longer the stopping distance. Yung alcohol, no? That can result to more severe type of injuries also na napag-alaman sa pag-aaral na yung mga drivers who are under the spirit of alcohol, mas nagiging yung risking behavior nila, marami sa kanila, at saka marami hindi nagsusuot ng helmet, no? So yung rider's age is also a factor kasi nga yung very young at saka very old, no, they are more at risk, no, for crashes on the road. And also road users, no, sometimes they fail to see the motorcycles on the road. Nagmamaneho sila and then all of a sudden they see a motorcycle to their right or to their left, no, coming probably from their blind spot, no, because of the smallness of the vehicle. So that makes them sometimes very difficult to see. Okay, and then of course the next risk factor would be related to the lack of post-crash care, no. So this is also a risk factor for motorcycle riders, no, when a collision occurs that can result sometimes to serious injury or deaths. Okay, next. So yun yung mga risk factors. So pag-usapan naman natin, ano yung mga pwedeng gawin? No? WHO recently came up with a publication on powered 2- and 3-wheeler safety, and these are some of the recommendations, no? And some recommendations on interventions related to safer roads, no? Currently, the only documented proven effective intervention in this category, as you can see on this slide, is that of exclusive motorcycle lanes, no? So there are other road engineering measures such as the introduction of protected turn lanes, widened shoulders, and the removal of roadside hazards that are reported as promising interventions. Pero ang talagang unanimous na nakikita sa mga studies, no, yung effectiveness of the exclusive, no, motorcycle lanes, no. And these exclusive motorcycle lanes are mainly used, diba, to separate motorcycles from the general traffic. And kasi pag hiniwalay mo sila, so they don't interact with the larger, no, and speedier vehicles on the road. So naiiwasan yung collision with them. So, okay, there are also some recommendations related to safer vehicles, no. At kasama nga dito yung sabi kanina ni Doc Ted, yung sa ABS, no, yung anti-lock brake systems, no. So and then yung paggamit ng headlights during the day, and also during the night are also reported as promising interventions. Now, back to the ABS, no. So ABS on motorcycles are designed to help the rider maintain control of the vehicle during the emergency braking situation. The system prevents wheels from locking during braking and may make users more confident to brake fully. Okay, next slide. So there are some WHO recommendations as well to improve road users' safety, and the following have been found to be effective, no? First, setting and enforcing comprehensive helmet legislation, which we have in the Philippines. Second, mandatory registration of vehicles and licensing of powered 2- and 3-wheelers operators. And third, compulsory training and a skills test to obtain a motorcycle permit or license. And I think we're also doing this, no, with LTO. Okay. And lastly, yung sa recommendations, no, ng WHO, yung sa post-crash care, no. So ayun. So post-crash care, so pag available yung post-crash care, di ba? Sabi nga ni Doc Ted, yung emergency medical response, no, that can save lives, no. Ang dito, dalawang interventions yung medyo dinescribe nila dito na importante, no. First ay yung pagtanggal ng helmet, no, on-site removal of helmet and on-site application of cervical collar brace to the injured individual, no. Both interventions, if properly applied by a trained pre-hospital care provider, have been shown to minimize injury severity and long-term disability. Now let's focus on this slide which you have in front of you now, no. So ito ngayon yung situation sa Pilipinas, no. Nakikita natin, tumataas talaga siya, no, over the years. Medyo bumaba lang siya nung year 2020 At saka nung last year, no, umigit kumulang more than 9,000 deaths, no. Pero ang average talaga over the years is more than 11,000. Medyo bumaba lang siya, and this is largely attributed to the pandemic, no. Kasi nga there was less mobility of people because of the lockdowns, and they were staying mostly at home. So that is the reason, no. It's like an artificial decrease, no. But nonetheless, no, yung more than 9,000 deaths happening last year in the Philippines, that's still a very significant number. And nagpapatotoo, no, na up to now talaga importanteng usapin pa rin talaga ang road safety. And we know that a large proportion of these deaths are among motorcycle riders. Next slide. So ito naman, we try to look at LTO data na nakikita kung gaano nakarami yung motorsiklo, no? Sa ngayon, more than 8 million na yung mga registered na mga motorsiklo, no? So hindi kasama dito yung mga unregistered. So more likely the number is really larger than this, no, in real terms, no. So the registered motorcycles comprise 62% of the all registered vehicles in 2021. At makita ninyo, no, since 2015 almost naging double yung growth ng motorcycles, no, in the Philippines. So nakikita natin, no, more motorcycles, kaya naman siguro this is one of the factors kaya nakikita natin maraming mga motorcycle related injuries and deaths. Okay, next slide. So nakita natin, no, so this is MMDA data which I borrowed from Tony, the next presenter, no. It just shows us na among the crashes that they saw in Metro Manila, no, around half, no, almost half of these crashes involved the motorcycle of the as a vehicle, no. And this is true both for fatal and non-fatal crashes that were seen, no, in recent years in Metro Manila. So talagang mahalagang usapin talaga, no, yung motorcycle safety, no, dito sa Metro Manila at sa buong Pilipinas. Next slide. Okay, I'm wrapping up. So those are some of the issues that we have, no. Those are some of the situation that we have, no. But there are some interventions that are being done, to be fair, with government and to all of us, no, who are really advocating for road safety. At kasama dito, no, yung meron tayong legislation on helmet use, on speeding and drink driving and others, no. Pero up to now, malaking issue pa rin talaga yung level of enforcement, no. Yung nakausap namin yung mga experts in previous years, no, at medyo hindi mataas, no, yung score na binibigay pa rin sa atin talaga sa level of enforcement. And so it remains a challenge, no, for us, the implementation of these existing laws on road safety that we have. Also at the moment, talking about motorcycle safety, there is no legislation yet or regulatory measure mandating the use of ABS and the use of daytime running light, which has been proven to be effective and promising technology measures for motorcycle safety. So all of these are telling us that there is really a need, no, to do more and to strengthen motorcycle safety and road safety in general. Okay, next slide. So in conclusion, no, humans, vehicles, and road infrastructure must interact in a way that ensures a high level of safety in our existence, no. Actions to ensure safety for motorcycle users must be part of a holistic and whole of government approach to road safety and mobility. Thus, we should continue to be guided by the safe systems approach, which you see on this slide, and ensure safe speed, safe roads, safe vehicles, and safer road users in our midst. And my last slide. So road safety is everybody's responsibility. We must all work together to keep our roads safe. And maybe just one more click, please. If you want to know more about motorcycle safety, there's a recent publication that WHO published, no? And you can see that on this link. It's on the WHO website. So muli maraming salamat po. Congratulations, Doc Ted, and to UPN. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jojo. Marami po kami natutunan doon and we were able to pick up a few more. We will definitely look at that publication by the WHO on road safety. So we hope everyone was able to get a glimpse po, no, of that publication. And we'll try to look at it now and just search for the URL for that one so we could share it with everyone po. Dr. Susie?
Yan, galing-galing naman ni Jojo. Talagang nice. And also very passionately delivered, no? I think I was listening intently on your analysis of the risks, and I think this really deserves a huge program, no? Parang parang napaka-complex, no? It's very complex, but I think what we've seen from your presentation, well, Ted was talking about describing the problem, right? You're talking now about what are the interventions and how do you what can you do based on what has been learned in WHO. Excellent, Jojo. Go to our next speaker. All right. Sabi nga natin sa pandemya, lahat ng talino ay kailangan. No? And sabi nga ni Ted, ito parang epidemic. I agree. It has levels of an epidemic. The numbers of people who are affected. We're not even considering here the psychosocial impact of injuries on a family, no? Mga ganon. Anyway, we have somebody who's been working with the Metro Manila Development Authority for more than 20 years. And sabi nga natin, no, sinabi rin ni Jojo na everyone has a role to play, no? Lahat tayo tulong-tulong. So, pakinggan po natin anong mga plano ng MMDA. And we have with us, as one of the reactors, the OIC of the Traffic Education Division. Ang ganda ng kanyang ang kanyang job description, no? Talagang very challenging. Traffic Education Division. Let's welcome Dr. Antonio Pagulayan. Tony, welcome to the Stop COVID Deaths webinar. Nakamute ka ata, Tony.
Thank you very much, Doc Susie. Magandang hapon po sa kanila lahat. I think the UP National Telehealth Center for inviting us here. And this webinar is very timely because just a few days ago, napag-usapan ho yung, and I think Doc Ted has mentioned about motorcycle lanes. So perhaps I will just focus more on motorcycle lanes. But anyway, napakaganda po yung presentation ni Doc Ted kanina because Doc Ted has, I think, presented a very comprehensive accident road crash data. No? And na-surprise din ho kami because ang data na po yun talaga hong sinasabi motorcycles are really the most vulnerable in terms of types, or the most vulnerable type of motor vehicle. At I think si Doc Go kanina has already presented some of the issues involving motorcycles, yung nabanggit niya kanina yung risk factors. But at any rate, I would like to supplement the data of Dr. Ted. No? So I would like to share my screen and okay, medyo yata naka-block ako. Ma'am, can I share my screen? This will be a very brief. Isibukan ko ulit. Okay. Sige. Okay. Let me just focus on motorcycle accidents. Most probably yung aming pre-pandemic data about motorcycle crashes. And if you will notice, yung pong motorcycles po natin rank number 2, no, as the most vulnerable type of vehicle in Metro Manila. No? So in terms of the frequency, no, ang motorcycles contributed about 15.3% of the total road crashes, no, in Metro Manila. And well, in terms of fatality, napakataas. So, no? This is just a 3-year period from 2018 to 2020. Around 42% po ang share po ng motorcycle. So talagang sila po ang nangunguna, no? And in terms of the involvement of our riders and even back riders, mapapansin po nito sa data natin, yung pong there are around 10,000 riders who have been involved in motorcycle crashes over the period of 3 years, no, from 2018 to 2020. And this is also very alarming, no, yung mga back riders. We have around more than 2,000 back riders, no, who are involved in road crashes. Probably yun pong ating mga data based on our accident reports or road crash reports from our police stations. Most of these back riders, no, have failed to wear helmets, and some of the reports would tell us that some of them were wearing substandard helmets, no? And of course, marami pa mga risk factors. And of course, meron ding 5,500 pedestrians were either killed or injured in the past 3 years, no? Now, so since we are discussing about motorcycle lanes, and for your information, I think we intend to re-implement these motorcycle lanes along Commonwealth in particular at the end of, I think by the end of November or first week of December. So meron lang ho kaming ginagawa pang mga konting pag-aaral pa, no? Dahil because merong mga suggestions, recommendations from all other stakeholders. But if you will notice, ito pong ating road crash data along major roads with motorcycle lanes. During the pandemic, in 2019, halos matataas, no? Accident or road crashes along EDSA, Ross Boulevard. So these are 5 major thoroughfares na meron po kaming motorcycle lanes, no? EDSA, Ross Boulevard, Commonwealth, C5, and Macapagal Avenue. If you will notice, no, nung 2020 matataas so bawat kalsada, let's say from EDSA, no, and Commonwealth, and of course C5. Mapapansin po natin, no, in 2020 or from 2020 to 2021, we do not have the data yet for 2022. Halos tumataas po ulit ho siya yung involvement ng motorcycles, no, sa road crashes. That's why this is the reason, one of the reasons why we have to really, ang nakikita po ng MMDA is to reimpose or reimplement the motorcycle lanes, no, along. Now we will start along Commonwealth. Just to present you a glimpse of our proposed motorcycle lanes along Commonwealth. So yung pong ating third lane, no, from the outermost lane, no, from the gutter of the curb, this will be allotted for our motorcycles, no. Well, ang term na ginamit namin is exclusive lane, but again there are several safety issues here because, and kanina na nakita po sa video, exclusive lane, no? Although may mga sabi ko, may mga issues dito patungkol sa safety dahil merong nagsabi, bakit ihalo nyo kami doon sa malalaking sasakyan, because the second lane will be allotted for public utility vehicles, particularly buses, no? So maraming bus dyan sa Commonwealth. And the first lane would be for our bicycle lane. So of course there will be, again, as I've said, there will be safety issues here. Alam naman ho natin na ang Commonwealth is a mixed-use thoroughfare, mixed-use traffic. Because ito, I believe that, and there are studies showing that if motorcycles contribute at least 20 to 30%, yung percentage share ng motorcycles is between 20 to 30%, there should be a segregated or exclusive motorcycle lane. But of course, we do not have the luxury of space. Kaya po ang MMDA ay inilagay po ang third lane sa Commonwealth as motorcycle lanes, no. Dahil nakita po namin, no, yung pong data ho namin sa Maras database, sa traffic count ho namin, no. In 2021, no, last year, we have recorded around the total average daily traffic of motorcycles along Commonwealth, no, is about 130,000 motorcycles. That is in 2021. No, noong 2020, it was 105. No, 105. So nag-increase ng almost 30,000 ang daily traffic natin. No, from 130 in 2020 to 105. No, from 105 in 2020 to 130 in 2021. No? Wala pa ho kaming data ng 2020, 2023. So nakita namin na talaga hong nag-i-increase yung population ng motorcycles along Commonwealth. Not only in Commonwealth, no? And same is true with EDSA. Nag-increase din ng around 30,000 to 35,000 motorcycles sa EDSA. So nakita namin na talagang there is really a need to re-implement these motorcycle lanes along EDSA. Now again, while it is true na meron tayong proposals sa EDSA on motorcycle lanes and particularly Commonwealth, marami pa ho tayo nakikitang issues about motorcycles. Ito nabanggit na ni Dr. Go kanina. So nakita natin that if there is an increasing traffic volume, particularly motorcycles, tumataas po rin ho yung risk factors. No? And then based on our data, the vulnerability of motorcycle riders, dahil talaga ho mas nabibiktima yung riders and yung back riders. No? Then of course, yung lack of inclusive planning, we must also accept the fact that dati-dati nung hindi pa naman ho tumataas ang registration ng motorcycles, since then talaga hong hindi na-incorporate yung motorcycle lane design. No? So palagay ko yan po ang dapat tingnan din natin. No? Then of course, nabanggit ko na kanina po yung mixed traffic. No? Yan ho palagi. No? Although may mga studies din, no, na talagang in other countries, talagang in Vietnam, and for example, no, meron yung exclusive lane nila talaga ay na-separate, na-segregated siya or separated siya from the main thoroughfare. And then of course, there are again issues on design of our infrastructures, surface conditions, and this has been, I think, discussed by Dr. Go kanina. So I think with that, I would like to end my presentation, and palagay ko mas maraming magtatanong mamaya regarding the implementation of motorcycle lanes. Ma'am Susie, thank you very much.
Oy, maraming salamat, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony, who is the OIC of MMDA for Traffic Education Division. Okay, we are going to end a very exciting discussion. I think many of you have questions already. I was looking at the chat box. We already have questions and comments in the chat box as well as the Q&A. So we're going to ask everyone to open their, our panel to open their cameras. So Ted, Jojo, and Tony, kindly open your videos. And then we're going to have a short break with a public service announcement. Raymond, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Susie. And thank you to Sir Tony from the MMDA po. No? Maraming salamat. At this point, we'd like to take just a very quick break po for our special public service announcement for today.
maaari na bang magpabakuna ang mga batang 5 hanggang 11 taong gulang?
Oo, nagsimula ito noong Pebrero.
Nagpapakuna na ba kayo?
Oo, nagpapakuna na kami.
Ay, mga bata, magpapakuna na kayo.
Stay safe and stay well. Mga bata, magpasama na sa Bakuna Center. Thank you so much, TVUP. The COVID Communication Public Service Announcement is one of the many creative outputs of the Stop COVID Deaths team to push for pediatric vaccination for children aged 5 and above. We hope you can share this message to all of your colleagues, families, and friends. And please share this video clip in all of your social media accounts po. Stay safe and stay well. Magpasama na po sa Bakuna Center. We also understand that everybody is very busy, so we have some selected presentations that we have put in a feature po, no? Pinaikli po siya, very, very consumable, that we lovingly call SED shorts. So you can watch them at your convenience. So just go to the YouTube channel of TVUP by typing in youtube.com/TVUPPH for you to be able to see not just the webinars po in the playback, but also ito pong ating mga SCD shorts. Sana po you'll be able to take the time to learn the nuggets of wisdom imparted po by our speakers for all of our webinars. And with that, we'll go ahead with our Q&A session.
Okay, thank you very much, Raymond. Sige, to get the ball rolling, let me ask a question to our three panelists, and it's the famous elevator question. Okay, so if the president called you and said, "I have 5 billion pesos that I want to put into, reducing all of these injuries from motorcycle use," what are the 3 things that you would prioritize? Okay, we're gonna start with Tony. Tony, tinawag ka ng presidente. Sinabi, ano ba ito? Nakita ko ang maraming mga problema sa motorsiklo. Maglalaan ako ng 5 billion pesos. Ano ba yung 3 unang kailangan gawin?
Ma'am, I would be biased kasi nasa training ako. I would go for really to strictly implement the training on riders, motorcycle riders, prior to the issuance of their driver's licenses, no? Kasi yun po ang while it is true that we have so many driving schools here in the Philippines, kung mapapansin niyo, naka-focus sila sa 4-wheel drive eh. Mas maraming experts na nagtuturo sa motorcycles. Halos mangilan-ilang lang ang driving schools na mayroon nag-o-offer ng motorcycle riding course. So yun po ang unang-una kong gustong i-implement, no?
Okay, second and third, 3 eh. Kasi 5
second
billion.
would, since that we are involved in enforcement, strict implementation of enforcement of motorcycle helmets and standards, no? Because right now, and even yung impairment laws natin, no? Right now, yung nabanggit no kanina ni Doc na yung breath analyzer, yun hanggang ngayon meron na yung batas, pero palagi ko kulang pa yung breath analyzer eh, no? Na wala, well, hindi ko alam. Kami rin po sa MMD, wala po kaming ni isa siguro na hawak na breath analyzer. Meron din siguro, pero there are issues on calibration and so forth and so forth. No? So still, while it's true na meron tayong batas na ho dyan, yung implementation and enforcement. Pangatlo would be implementing crash protective devices on our roads, no? Our facilities, improve the facility of our roads. No, kinakailangan forgiving yung ating mga kalsada so that yung barrier kinakailangan hindi mas hindi mas mamatay yung ating riders. So kinakailangan our facilities, road safety facilities should be always be forgiving.
Okay, thank you so much. Jojo, what would you say? 5 minutes.
Okay, Susie,
conversation.
yeah, 3 big ticket items. One is on governance, no? Develop the plan, provide adequate budget and ensure that there is a functional structure or unit within government, like the road safety unit in the DOTR, and perhaps organize an interagency group, no, to discuss things regularly and implement measures accordingly. Second would be, I agree with Tony, the enforcement, particularly on the legislation on speed and helmet use. Siguro pag yung dalawa lang yan ma-implement talaga ng maayos, mapapababa natin yung motorcycle deaths natin, no, and serious injury. And third would be invest on public education, because we need everybody to be on board. Everybody has a role for road safety, and this also helps to instill a culture of safety for all of us, no, including for people in the population. If everyone has this culture of safety in our system, then we would be more careful in crossing the road and be more compliant in following the rules of the land.
Okay, thank you, Jojo. Ted, ikaw. 5
Ako,
minutes.
medyo iba ako dun sa kanilang dalawa, no? Kasi, di ba, I come from the academe and the research perspective. In fact, part of the plans we want to do is build an Institute for Road Safety and Injury Prevention at the National Institutes of Health. Pag bibigyan niya ako ng 5 million, ayos na ako. Maumpisa ko na yung...
Billion nga billion.
Billion, ayos na ako. May building pa ako, lahat ng road crash testing, and all the studies I can do. And lahat ng intervention na gagawin ni Anton, ng MMDA, ng WHO, maaaral ko at baka mag-contribute pa tayo sa mundo. Kasi tayo ang may burden ng LMICs with this type of two-wheeled vehicles. We should start, kasi alam mo, the way we engineer roads, the way we follow is the way our foreigners have looked at it, which is to use roads for cars and 4 wheels. Pero in the low middle income country, yun ang iba ang kalakaran eh. Paano papasok si kung walang public transport? Motorsiklo. So we should look at it in a different way and make the solution for us. And that can only be done to, kagaya sa Malaysia, meron silang Malaysian Institute for Road Safety. Ako gusto ko rin because that lead agency can lead to the creation of what I call a road safety authority. Ang problema natin sa road safety parang tubig. Yung lahat ng mga agency hiwa-hiwalay. Ayan, MMDA for enforcement, DPWH for engineering, di ba? Department of Health for post-crash incidents. Kailangan nag-uusap-usap sila parang COVID, di ba? Mag-uusap-usap sila, and that requires leadership. Maybe the creation of a road safety authority under the office of the president. Di ba? Para talagang may leadership on road safety. At gawin talaga natin yung target, the target of 50% reduction in deaths of our young people. So yun yung aking approach dyan. Medyo, out of the box solution, pero I think it will be a good way to spend 5 billion pesos.
Okay,
yearly.
thanks a lot.
Yearly.
Okay. Sana may nakikinig, sige, let's go to, Raymond, let's pick up a question from the audience.
Okay. Of the 2 questions, some of these have been answered, pero we'll pick up one from Dr. Richard Buencamino. Are there special PWD lanes to provide more safety for PWD and other drivers on the road? Sir Tony?
Siguro sagutin ko yan. Kasi
sige, Dr. Ted. Sige,
ako nang-imbita kay Rich eh.
Sige.
Rich I've been partnering with in the COVID response. He's actually an internal medicine and pediatric residency trained doctor, graduate of the University of the Philippines, but he suffered an AV malformation. He's now a PWD. So he works in front of a computer. I've been trying to help him get work and do stuff. So I invited him here so he can understand what I do in road safety. And I'm glad he asked that question. Ang sagot ko sa kanya, yung ordinaryong pedestrian na dalawa paa nakakapaglakad, di natin mabigyan ng proper safety yung PWD pa. But his answer is correct. I went to Japan and years back, decades ago, they already had music in the pedestrian crossing. Sabi ko, para saan yung music na yan? Para sa bulag yan. Imagine yung bulag na isip nung Hapon na tatawid ng kalye at binigyan nila ng paraan. Kasi pag natapos na yung music, tapos na yung tawiran. Sabi ko, wow ha? Pati yung blind na naisip na nila. So I'm sure yung mga sidewalk pwede dumaan yung wheelchair. So if we start to think that way, I think inclusive ang thinking, systems approach, makakagawa tayo ng mga masasali natin lahat yan, pati yung mga persons with tawag ko dyan, mobility disorders. We need to start thinking about these persons with mobility disorders and include them in the mobility of our urban centers.
Yeah, I think that the concept of mobility is now taking the place of some of the conversations around transport. Dati kasi parang health and transport, no? Now we talk about new, safe, active, and inclusive mobility. No, kasi it's really about how do you get people from one place to another place, diba? It's not just about vehicles, no? So parang yung mas malawak na pananaw. I actually like that question also about persons with disability. Raymond, I think we have time for one more question.
Can I just add, Susie, to what you said? Because it's very interesting. If we had very good public transport, if we had trains, if we have good public transport, do you think people will buy motorcycles and risk their lives? These young people will ride the public transport.
Yeah.
Pero sitikan yung pila dun sa LRT, MRT, nakita ko hanggang baba. Our poor people are forced to buy their own motorcycle and risk their life. So very important din yung thinking na sometimes the solution is not in the motorcycle. Baka the solution is in the public transport. Sabi, congestion in Metro Manila. I heard one LGU, local chief executive, sabi niya, kasi ayaw natin padaanin yung small two-wheeled powered vehicles sa SLEX and LEX. Imagine if you let that people, hindi magko-congest sa Metro Manila kasi bibili ng bahay o magre-rent ng bahay yung nagtatrabaho sa Manila kasi makakadaan sila sa SLEX. So ang solusyon, lagyan mo ng kalye doon for motorcycles. Hindi naman sila pwedeng magsama. Pwede namang magbayad sila ng toll, papasok sila to the city. Then they don't have to buy very expensive real estate in the city na decongest mo pa yung city. So kailangan talaga we start thinking of solutions that are out of the box that will help our isipin natin the inclusive approach to the passenger and the one moving.
Nice. Okay. Raymond, one more question and then we have to start wrapping up.
No problem. We'll choose the one from Dr. Gerardo Hermar. In car versus motorcycle mishaps, is it true that cars have a heavier burden of responsibility over motorcycles because the cars are bigger? Are not the motorcycles more maneuverable and easier to brake than cars? Dr. Ted wants to answer this live po kasi.
Okay, sige. But that's a very interesting question because I think this is where the risk-taking behavior of the motorcycle really comes in. I mean, bakit sila nag-risk? Kasi pag nabangga ko sila, nakakotse ako may kasalanan. May aamin ba sa yung motorsiklo pag nabangga mo sila? Laging ikaw may kasalanan. And when the MMDA comes, ikaw yung may mukhang pera eh. Ikaw nagdadrive ng four-wheel vehicle. Wala akong makukuha dito. Ikaw rin ang naiipit. So, we need to change this again, ano? In fact, yung solution ng WHO, I like yung mixing of vehicles. I think that's the solution there. If you don't want a car to hit a motorcycle, then i-separate mo. May mga ganyan na sa Iloilo. I think you will look at pictures of Iloilo. May mga naitayo doon na talagang kilometers of motorcycle lane and bicycle lane na hiwalay, hindi pwedeng pasukin talaga. So hindi siya road sharing, may specific road. So we should start thinking about non-mixing of the two-wheelers and four-wheelers para hindi mangyayari yan. Walang sisiyan. Pero actually, if you ask me, both are equally liable. It just so happens that the motorcycle rider or the two-wheeler is unprotected. Kaya laging siya ang agrabyado. So pag kahit kasalanan niya, bali yung buto niya, parang nagiging cargo ko pa rin, nakakaawa naman to, di ba? Gagastusan mo na rin yung ospital. But in truth and reality, I think in some countries, like Germany, they decide on who made a traffic violation. Siya yung liable. So hindi tayo ganoon eh. Hindi tayo ganoon. You hit a pedestrian, ikaw may kasalanan kung kotse ka. Kahit yung pedestrian hindi nag-cross ano. Sa Germany, hindi. If you're a pedestrian, you're hit by a car. Nung nasa Switzerland nga ako, nag-aaral ako sa University of Geneva. Nakakita ako ng kotse na hinaguyod ng bus kasi pumasok siya doon sa bus lane. Sabi ko, ba't ginawa ng bus yun? Yung pala ang magbabayad ng damage sa bus nun, yung car. Kasi wala siya dapat doon. So we need to look again at another way of looking at the rules in our country.
Yeah, interesting.
Parang si Anton gusto magsalita, yung enforcer natin.
Sige, Anton, go.
Tama po yung sabi ni Dr. No? They are both equally liable. But of course, yung kasing common notion natin, ano? Pagka nabangga kasi nung kotse yung motor, yung responsibility nandun sa nakakotse. Pero palagay ko, yun ang dapat nating ibahin no? na paniniwala ng mga ibang motorista. No? Dahil it's not always the case na kasalanan ng nakakotse. Dahil kung in terms of kung sino yung nagkasala naman, nagkamali, di ba? Siyempre, titingnan ng investigation niya. Pero again, yun na nga, mas parang tayo kasi mga Pilipino, Doc, yung naawa tayo kapag yung motorist, yung nakamotor, napilayan na no? So, talagang ganun, tayo kumisa nagbabayad na. Okay? Pero yun nga po, gusto na dapat yung mapalitan din nung, kaya may mga behavior ng mga motorcycle riders, yung nagli-lane splitting, di ba? Although, masyado tayo relax sa ganung policy, so lumulusot kasi sila. So, yun lang dapat nating simulan at baguhin.
Tama.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, we probably need to go, Raymond, to the questions on the fun quiz.
Fun quiz. Thank you so much, Dr. Susie. Lively discussion, but we want to be able to answer po. Can we have it on the screen also for Slido? Thank you so much. In a road mishap, ito po ang unang nating katanungan, which road users are most likely injured according to the data? Dr. Ted?
Yan, motorcycle, tama ang 91%. Kuha nila. So alam naman
Thank
nila
you.
yung risk. Oo.
Thank you, sir. And who are most likely to be injured in a road mishap?
Ayan, actually males yung sa data namin sa 10-year study, 70% of those injured are male drivers. So mas common yung male. No? I don't know kung magbabago yan. Madami na rin nakikitang female motorcyclist. Baka mag-increase na rin yan. And female still on back rider, marami na rin females.
Back rider.
Yung age group. What about the age group, Ted?
Yeah, of course, that age group, the 15 to 35 age group, the most productive members of society. Yung mga nagka-college, K-12, binibigyan na ng motor ng magulang niya. Tapos yung pag nagkatrabaho, yan ang unang bibili nilang mobility. And then pag weekend, kasama niya buong pamilya niya in that motorcycle. So it's also the family car in low and middle income countries. And nangyayari na sa atin talaga yan. Panghanap buhay, pang pamilya pa.
Okay. And then for our last question, ano po ang common causes of road injury?
Well, those are all common causes. Kaya tama din yung 79. 79 lang ang naka-answer. Dapat 100%.
The second most selected, Dr. Ted, is under the influence of alcohol.
Oo, kasi hindi strict nga yung implementation natin sa ibang country. Meron pa silang spot texting sa umaga. Biro mo, nakakita ko ng breath analyzer checkpoint sa Australia. Alas 9 ng umaga, papunta ka opisina. Yung pala, pag naglasing ka hanggang midnight, mataas pa yung blood alcohol level mo sa umaga. So ang dami pala nilang nahuhuli doon. So napi-prevent nila yung crashes in the morning, di ba? So in relation to this also, may magandang tanong kanina si Rich Camino na in-answer ko. Shouldn't diabetics start with a blood sugar level before they drive? That was a very interesting question kasi di ba yung mga diabetics pataas baba ang sugar nila? So the same way as an alcoholic, baka someone with a comorbidity should be testing their blood sugar level or magbaon sila ng candy pag magda-drive sila para kung sila ay nag-hypoglycemia, hindi sila ma-aksidente.
Okay, that's the last of our 3 questions. So thank you to everyone. At least 95% po of our participants were able to participate dito po sa ating fun quiz po. Yes, that's correct. And we'll take this chance to allow all of our speakers, si Sir Tony, Dr. Jojo, and Dr. Ted, to come up with their final messages to the audience, just for them to get some time to wrap their heads around that. While they're doing that, we will go through the evaluation poll. There are 5 questions. It's a 4-point Likert scale. First question, the panelists demonstrated thorough knowledge of the topic. Number 2, the panelists were well prepared and organized. Number 3, the panelists spoke clearly and audibly. Number 4, panelists used appropriate language with technical medical jargons adequately explained. And finally, the panelists contributed to new perspectives and knowledge on managing various key health issues. Wala po kaming hiwalay na evaluation poll na ipinapadala. Ito na po iyon. So we encourage everyone to participate and input your feedback po dito po sa panel discussion poll po natin. We will not be closing this last evaluation poll until the end of our webinar as we move on to the final messages of our speakers. Dr. Susie.
Thank you very much, Raymond, and maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat for participating both in the fun quiz and the evaluation. So we're going to call on our panelists to give their short parting words for our audience. We'll start with Anton Pagulayan. Anton, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. C. Well, while it is true that motorcycles have become the most, shall I say, the most convenient form of personal transport for a lot of people, particularly in Metro Manila, perhaps, dapat hindi rin po naisasantabi yung kaligtasan, yung pag-iingat natin sa pagmamaneho ng motor. And lahat tayo mayroong responsibilidad in terms of insofar as road safety is concerned. So thank you very much po sa inyo pong lahat at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Maraming salamat po. That was Antonio Pagulayan of the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. Okay, let's go to Dr. Jojo. Jojo, please.
So thank you very much to Susie, Dr. Raymond, and to the UP community for inviting me and WHO to take part in this very interesting at talagang napaka-lively discussion of a very important topic. So tandaan po nating lahat, road safety is everybody's responsibility. All of us, have roles to play to keep everyone safe on the road, and that includes us, and our family members. So let's work together to save lives and keep our roads safe. Thank you. Back to you, Susie.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Jojo, National Professional Officer of the World Health Organization, Philippine Country Office. Okay, Ted Herbosa.
Well, for all the powered two-wheeler and three-wheeler users out there, let's look at the data, let's look at the science. We need to keep, those are very good vehicles, but we need to actually understand that these vehicles can bring us to our place of work, but they can also kill us, and then you can orphan your family. So it's very important na magkaroon talaga tayo ng systems approach. I like that approach. Very important na everyone in society will play an important role in making sure that the roads will be safe for us and our children and our loved ones. Importante na siguro yung DepEd, isama na yung road safety sa curriculum. Di ba? Naghahanap sila ng idadagdag sa curriculum. Yung palagay ko dapat before 12, 14 years old, dapat alam na nila lahat ng rules on road safety. Yung paano tumawid, saan maglalakad, pag pedestrian ka, magmumotor ka, magdadrive ka ng four-wheel vehicle. So that we can all be safe. Marami kasi nagdadrive hindi alam yung road traffic signs. I think I saw a video of that. And very important yun, that the whole of society ito, para ding COVID, lahat tayo may role. Ako as a researcher to help government spend their money well, look on the policies that matter based on evidence. Pagkatapos yung investments natin sa prevention, education, the injury prevention, and then the making our road safe. For the little cost we will add to putting in safe motorcycle lanes for two-wheeled and three-wheeled vehicles. Yung lives saved, kasi ang tawag nila dyan sa economics, DALI, Days of Active Life Years Lost. Mas malaki yung DALI economic burden ng isang 20-year-old na namatay or na paralyzed compared to a 60, 70-year-old that developed cancer or heart disease. So malaki yon kasi yung burden on, o paralyzed yon, the economy is actually affected. So may economics dito, may policy making dito, may leadership dito, may education dito, may health systems dito. So I think it's time that we start putting our heads together, solving the problem of road safety together. Ang last kong reminder, mga electorate, yung mga bumoboto. Kasi local chief executives ang nagpapatakbo nun, lahat ng sinabi namin, yung sinabi ni Jojo Go, yung sinabi ni Anton, lahat yan is really implemented by the local chief executive. Siya ang magtatahi-tahi niyan so that the roads in their community will be safe for all the users there. So let's elect our good leaders who will lead us in safer roads and lesser deaths among our young population. Maraming salamat, Susie, at maraming salamat sa Stop COVID Deaths.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ted Herbosa, who's the chair of the emergency department of the Philippine General Hospital. Okay, we have a synthesis and closing from Dionne Sacdalan, Dr. Dionne Sacdalan, who is the head of training of the Philippine General Hospital. Dionne, over to you.
Good afternoon. Maraming salamat, Doc Susie and Doc Raymond, and our distinguished speakers and reactors for another very interesting discussion on a hot topic, the road hazards and road safety in the Philippines. Though we are still in the pandemic, this afternoon we discussed another threat to the safety among motorists and pedestrians on the streets, which has been causing alarming numbers in terms of injuries and fatalities. According to our persons on the streets, basta may disiplina o sumunod sa batas trapiko at strikto ang pagpapatupad ng batas at may sariling linya ang mga motor, ligtas ang motorista. Ngunit ano bang sabi ng ating mga eksperto? Dr. Teodoro or Teddy Herbosa, our very first speaker, was very passionate on this advocacy on road safety. He's our trauma surgeon, and currently he's our chair in the Department of Emergency Medicine in the Philippine General Hospital. He shared his analysis in the data of the last 10 years on road crash injuries in the Philippines. And based on the collation of data from 4 databases, he saw very alarming data. In PGH, we saw polytrauma recorded at around 5,000 polytrauma cases over the last 10 years. And what's more alarming is that 21% increase every year. And in the last 10 years, there's 400% increase of these trauma cases. Now, going more expansive on his data on urban roads, and this is according to DOH, MMDA, and the AHEAD data, they found around 900,000 to 1.3 million total injuries in the past 10 years, with the similar number, 25 to 26% increase every year. And he mentioned that some crashes lead to fatal injuries that never reach the hospital. So he also mentioned that hindi lang drivers, but also passengers and pedestrians were killed because of all these vehicular accidents. In the database or in the analysis of data, he mentioned that the more common cities where these cases were reported were in Quezon City, in Davao, and Tagbilaran. He also said that based on this analysis, there are 2 peaks in the age group affected by these injuries, and these are in the 5 to 7 age group and 20 to 24 years old. And therefore, these are the young people who are in the prime of their working years, and these are and males are the commonly affected ones. He said that the driver is the more common victim type. Motorcycles occupy the largest chunk of the vehicle type, and the most common risk factor for the crashes is the alcohol intake of the drivers. As mentioned, the crashes lead to not just physical injuries, but also fatal injuries and even damage to property. And the most common cause of death is severe brain injury. And that's why he emphasized the importance of using a revised trauma score to predict, to determine predicting factors for prognosis. Dr. Herbosa also talked about the efforts to address road traffic injuries. Locally, he said that there have been a series of webinars on road safety, and these webinars may be accessible through YouTube or through the DOH website. He also mentioned about the technical working group that has been looking into creating trauma centers across the country. And this is now an ongoing program developing specialty centers to improve our post-crash response. In the region, there have also been discussions already, and one that he attended recently is a dialogue on powered two-wheeler safety attended by representatives from low and middle income countries. And they emphasized the use of anti-lock brakes for motorcycle vehicles. Finally, globally, he mentioned about the UN declaration of the second decade of action for road safety that will continue the initial achievement during the first decade. And this emphasized or focused on improvement of road design, enhancement enhancement of laws, mobilization of resources, and strengthening solidarity of all stakeholders. He ended his talk by showing us this emergency care system framework of the World Health Organization that focused on responses in the scene, in the transport of victims, and in the facility to improve the outcomes of our victims that are affected by these accidents. He also mentioned about improving our public transport system and maybe not really just focus on the motorcycles. Finally, he said that we should develop, or we should focus on a systems approach and a whole of society approach to address this alarming problem on road hazards and road safety. Our reactors, Dr. John Go, who's a National Professional Officer of the World Health Organization Philippine Office, echoed the alarming numbers that Dr. Herbosa initially mentioned. He said that 1.3 million die from road crashes, leading to death among the young people. He also mentioned about the common road crashes involve motorcycle use. He mentioned about the WHO recommendations to make roads safer, and he listed the following guides that can be seen from the WHO framework for road safety. And this includes road safety management and capacity, safer roads and transport networks, safe vehicles and mobility, safe road behaviors, and finally, improving our post-crash response. Finally, he listed the proven measures to improve on this problem. And he mentioned about the exclusive use of motorcycle lanes, use of anti-lock brake system for our vehicles, particularly the motorcycles, and the mandatory use of helmets, and implementing helmet standards and strengthening penalties for not use of all these for not following all these laws. Finally, he mentioned that there is no regulation on the use of daytime running lights, and he mentioned that all these should be enforced. In the end, Dr. Go mentioned about emphasized the level of enforcements of the existing laws remains to be challenged, and I think this is one aspect that we should also look into. Finally, Mr. Pagulayan, the OIC from the Traffic Education Division of the MMDA, echoed the alarming statistics as collected by MMDA. And he said that motorcycles are ranked second following cars in vehicular crashes in Metro Manila. And he said that injuries affected not just the motorcycle riders, but also pedestrians and the back riders. He said that the commonly observed injuries happen in the major roads like EDSA, at C5, and Commonwealth. He also informed us that MMDA is now doing its part, and they are trying to implement a motorcycle lane on the major roads. And I think they will be re-implementing this soon in the Commonwealth Road. So let's just remember that this problem is not just a problem of the government or not just a problem of the MMDA, but this is a problem of everyone. So let's try to enforce safe speed, safe road, safe vehicles, and safe users. So together, let us all keep our roads safe. Back to you, Doc Susie and Doc Raymond.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Dionne Sacdalan of the Philippine General Hospital for an excellent summary of our very exciting discussion today. And thank you to our panelists for all the time you put into the presentations and for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. Next week, we have our very own Dr. Stella Jose as one of our main speaker. And she is going to talk about something very interesting. I think for those of you who are interested in education on obstetrics and gynecology, we have 3 deans of different schools. We're going to talk about, with Stella, we'll talk about the use of simulation in teaching and learning obstetrics and gynecology. So, ano ba yun? Siguro yung mga manikin, di ba? gagamitin. Kasi remember, during the pandemic, there was less interaction, no, for our students. So I think it created an opportunity to step up our ability to use simulation in training. And so please invite your friends in obstetrics gynecologies. The students who are assigned to this section of work now might be very interested in this. And we are looking for a great discussion next week. Over to you, Raymond.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susie, and thank you to Coordinator for Training po, no, of the Philippine General Hospital, Dr. Dionne Sacdalan, for excellent synthesis and closing remarks. You are seeing on the screen that at least 92% of all, 91% of all of our participants, at least for the evaluation poll, indicated that they strongly agree with all the questions that are posed here. So maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. I think I was actually a bit surprised kasi marami po tayong attendees for this topic on road safety. So that's really a pleasant surprise for all of us. Before we conclude our program, we'd like to thank the very hardworking team behind the Stop COVID Deaths webinar series. Without each and every one of you, we won't be able to churn out quality content from week to week. So maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. And finally, all webinars po, no, 121 webinars sa ngayon are archived in the TVUP YouTube channel. But after today, magiging 122 webinars na po siya. Sana po you take the time to watch it in the playback. Ako, obviously, being part of the public health sphere, I will be watching it in the playback, and hopefully that's something that you'll be able to share with your colleagues, families, and relatives po. No? Just go to youtube.com/TVUPPH for you to be able to access all of our webinars. So that brings to an end our webinar for today. Magkita-kita po tayo again next Friday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. It's a date.
Together we can stop COVID deaths.
So keep safe, keep healthy, and see you online.